Welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for The Forgiven. It's just dropped here in the UK, and I presume a few places around the world. Let me know in the comments below, is this one you're going to venture out to the cinema for? I'm going to talk about whether you should, who's this for, what demographic, non-spoiler. Let's get into it. The Forgiven takes place over a weekend in the high Atlas Mountains of Morocco and explores the reverberations of a random accident on the lives of both local Muslims and Western visitors to a house party in a grand villa. This has a fantastic ensemble cast. Matt Smith plays Richard Galloway, Jessica Chastain plays Joe Henninger, Ralph Fiennes, David Henninger, and my personal favorite, Ishmael Kanater. So out of the gate, I'm just going to say this is going to split audiences for sure. It's a slow burn and there's little or nothing to like about the characters portrayed within this storyline. 2 hours long, set in the Moroccan desert, and it's filmed in Australia, so it really has that presence that they're going for to be accurate. Obviously couldn't actually film where they wanted to, but for the most part you really feel like you are transported into the zones that they want you to experience. This eclectic group of people that are very unlikable, the rich of the richest sort of thing, and also they show how decadence is a part of their everyday of life, ranging from drugs to fornication. These people very easy to dislike. So then you're going into a film with a bunch of people you don't like, with no one really to root for. So when something happens to two of our main protagonists, played by Jessica Chastain and Ralph Fiennes, there's an accident at the beginning that shapes out the whole story. You kind of don't really root for anybody, which is an interesting way to start off with the film. And talking about starting and ending, without spoilers, it has the most interesting credits and end credits I've seen in a long time. I thought it was pretty brave and interesting. See which way they flow. I thought it was a nice touch to an old school harking back to those films where they put the credits over footage that is running, showing all the cast and crew, and then allowing the score to affect the zone that you need to place your mind in. It's an effective way to get you in that zone. It was also interesting having the demographic of people that I was in with the cinema. There was only a handful, I think like 7 other people in the particular screening I watched in, and everybody was 15 to 20 years older than me. There were also 2 of these ladies that were sitting through the film, could not resist checking their phone throughout the film. Now I don't think that is a reflection on the film. I think that's a reflection on people not having the ability to put their digital devices to a side, that they have to check their Facebook, they have to check their text messages. So Ralph Fiennes plays one of the best performances I think I've seen him. And that's saying something, because every performance he does is genuinely very good. He brings a realness to the characters that he's asked to portray. And this time round, it's a unlikable rich white dude who is an alcoholic. Plays that perfect to a T. It was like he knew what to do with that character easily. I didn't really see Ralph Fiennes. I did see this alcoholic rich guy who has some issues, and he's estranged wife almost. I mean, that's not the right wording, but they seem like they're together but they're unhappy together. And that's kind of where we start off once we get this kind of incident that happens. So the incident revolves around Ralph Fiennes' character, and he finds himself having to go on a separate journey whilst this party continues on. And so we have an interesting juxtaposition of deep sadness and mourning that goes along one journey with incredible open wide vistas. Some shots feel like they're fisheye, but they're not fisheye lens. They're just slightly distorted to give that heat of what is going on in the desert, but also the beauty. It feels like it's filmed with film. They may have just stuck, some filters over it and added some grain, but it really sometimes feels like it's filmed on film, especially at the night scenes where the blacks are so black but also seriously grain. Every single shot was really interesting. There's also this moment where we get interesting transitions where it fades into another shot. And one of the first things my lecturers at television and film production degree that I did is said, never do a cross transition. That is just a waste of space and it's terrible filmmaking. You need to just cross directly to it. Just no fades to black, no cross transitions. Just cut to it. If you're crossing transitions, you don't have a handle on the story you're trying to tell. And it's interesting because to me, film is very subjective. And here these shots worked superbly. They added a lot of weight, or the presence that they were trying to go for in this. It was used multiple times, this technique. And I thought it's so interesting that you can teach something and then see it in film years later representing the opposite of what you've been taught. So that's why film or entertainment in general is so subjective. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I really feel like that is going to be the case with this film. Already the critic scores and the Metacritics and the Rotten Tomatoes, if you hold any stock in those sort of reviews, are mixed. Because some people are thinking this is so pretentious and the characters are so unlikable that I have nothing to root for. For me, the consequence of that action that affects the whole weekend, that runs along to that, I think is the deeper meaning here with that. And here we have an actor who I mentioned briefly earlier, Ismail Kanata. Now, he's been in film and TV for a long time, but he's probably not a character, or maybe not an actor that you've recognized in many things. But I do hope from this film he'll be picked up in bigger titles, because even though Ralph Fiennes was fantastic in this movie, I thought the little bit that we saw this character, and he doesn't have many dialogue lines, but what he does have is moments to show emotion on his face that teeters on deep sadness to really, really deep anguish and anger all at the same time. And he shows it like spectacularly. You feel for the guy there. Whenever you see him on screen, there is this, I guess, a plethora of emotions surrounding him, even though he doesn't say much. And when he does say something, it's always profound. The dialogue within this movie is very profound as well, in moments quite hard hitting. It also makes you think. I think it's deeper than a lot of people are going to see at the surface. Some people are going to think, yeah, it's just showing what it is. It's not actually very tactful in its message. I think if you look at the underlining theme, going by its namesake, The Forgiven, once you get to the end, you'll understand. And it hits quite hard at the end. And you're not sure what to feel about the ending. And I think it makes you ask a couple of questions. It's not a deep thinker, but it does make you think, if that makes sense. You don't really just want to fly on the fence. You want people to have to say something about your film, even if it's negative. And then if it's positive as well and gets people speaking, I think you've done a really good job. For me, I think the ensemble cast do exactly what they're told to do. They make you dislike them very quickly, but also there is a sort of redemption of a character arc that I like. And then there is this other side of the storyline that is this contrast, this juxtaposition that works so well. It's a beautifully shot film, and even though slow, is tense and has a harrowing feeling to it around it. I want people to watch this movie, but only if you're going to give it the time that it's due. I'm going to give this a light 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
In the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
The acting's phenomenal, story is great, and my mind is still thinking about it. Really want people to chat about this one. I don't think it's going to do that well in the cinema. It may do better on digital release, which is a shame because it deserves to be seen on the biggest screen possible. I hope you've felt my passion for the film, but also my confusion at who it's trying to pitch for. I think it is a bit of a thinker, but also sometimes very blatant in your face. Well worth watching for the performances alone and the ensemble cast. Here are another 2 reviews for you to watch. We have a plethora, a cornucopia of other content on there, as well as a Patreon. If you want to support our channel as I try to make this worthwhile doing, then have a look at the Patreon, or maybe just say thanks, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff that I hate talking about.